Hey YouTube, how's it going? Kevin Cleary with the knife video. This is going to be a really fun one, and one that I'm surprised has not been done a million times already. But to my knowledge, and if you can find one, go ahead and post the link in the comments. I have not found a direct comparison between these two blades. This is the Spyderco Southard, and this is the Spyderco Domino. Now, this just happens to be the Bento Box Shop version, and I'm doing that just to add a little interest to the video. As you know, I also have the carbon fiber version, and my comments will primarily relate to that version. Anyway, these two knives are kind of begging for a comparison, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay, of course we have the only two, maybe there's the dice now as well, but essentially we have the first two Spyderco flippers. They're extremely close in size and weight. In fact, they both weigh 4.1 ounces. They're both around that 8-inch mark. Now, in addition, they're both, of course, titanium frame locks. There are a lot of similarities between these two blades, okay? Now, the price point is the one discrepancy. There's about $50 between these two. So either on the secondary market or on the primary market, if you buy this directly from, Blade HQ or something like that, or, GP Knives or wherever, you're going to be looking at around $250 for the Southard and around $200 to $210 for the Domino. If you buy it on the secondary market, you buy these used or lightly used, you're going to be looking at around $200 for the Southard and about $150 for the Domino. So either way, no matter how you get these, you're looking at about a $50 difference in price, and that would be the biggest difference between these two. Okay, designers on both of these, one of the things they actually have in common is that both of these knives are very sort of faithful to their designer. Okay, you can take one look at this and you go Brad Southard. You can take one look at this and you go Eric Glesser. Okay, so both of these are very, very in keeping with their designers' sort of influences, and that's kind of a cool thing. The Southard is especially that way. I think when I reviewed this, I said this is really a Brad Southard knife produced by Spyderco. Of course, all Southwestern knives are going to be produced by Spyderco, but I mean Eric Glesser. And so that's really cool. And if you look at like the Tonk, I think is the right name, or the Tusk, or the Avo, both of them look very, very similar to this knife, although they're going to run you around $400. Okay, so let's get into some of the more specifics that we always compare. And if you've watched a couple of my videos, I always kind of go in the same order, and that always starts off with size and weight. And that's one of the things that are very similar about this. These are great great size and weight for EDC, both of them. On the Southard, we have 8 inches overall, 3.5-inch blade, essentially 4.5-inch handle. Okay, really the handle measures 4 9/16. On the Domino, we have 7 3/4, 11/16 on the overall length, 3 1/8-inch blade, and the handle length is literally the same exact length as the Domino at just over 4.5 inches, 4 9/16. Okay, so extremely close. And in fact, in your pocket, these are going to be very, very similar. Literally the exact same length, the exact same weight. So, you're looking at two very comparable blades. Now, one thing you do get with the Southard is more blade length. Okay, so that's really important to me. You guys know I like a bigger knife, and a bigger blade is the main reason for that. And so with the Southard, you're carrying the same amount of weight, you're taking up the same amount of space in your pocket essentially, but you're getting much more blade. And if you put these two cutting edge to cutting edge, you can really see how much more blade you're getting with the Southard. So size and weight on these, although similar, is different enough. And because of that extra blade and the extra blade to handle ratio, which to me is really important. I really like a knife where I've got a lot of blade for my handle, and so the Southard is a real win in terms of size and weight. For its size, you're getting a nice long blade, tons of utility. Now, I'm not saying the Domino is ineffective, and there is the difference in that the Domino has that choil, which does add a level of utility to it. However, overall, I think we've got to give size and weight in terms of what you're getting for that size and weight to the Southard. Okay, now let's move on to, and I will say, very, very similar again in size and weight. When we talk about the blades, I'm going to zoom in a little bit for this part so you can see better what I'm talking about. Sorry guys. Okay, for the blades, let's come in a little bit closer here, and you can see these two blades are very, very different. With the Domino, we have the typical Eric Lesser leaf-shaped Spyderco blade. Both of these I would classify as, of course, drop point blades. Maybe we would call the Southard a modified drop point. It almost favors a Warncliffe look, doesn't it? As you see how this tips down very aggressively. You know, it could almost be a clip point if sort of this point ended up here somewhere, but no, it is dropped down to the tip there. But you can see there's a significant difference in these, although they end up having some similarity in terms of belly. See, if you're cutting into something, you can see that that belly is going to be very effective on both of these blades. Now, the grind is very, very different. Here with the Domino, you have a full flat grind, which is a very utilitarian blade shape. It's going to be great for all kinds of slicing tasks. Here you have a very deep hollow grind, okay? I want you to look at the back of this blade and see that it's much thicker blade stock than the Domino. And with that very thick blade stock, you've got to be fairly aggressive in this grind, and it is. It's a very deep hollow grind, which gives you great edge geometry and really good cutting performance. Although, as I've said, with many, many blades, and by the way, I really like hollow grinds, but as I've said, you're going to get an exaggerated wedge effect with this blade over this one. Okay, so yes, you've got more cutting edge here, but it's going to hang up in material a little more readily than the Domino. So let's say, I don't know, you're cutting cardboard. The Domino is going to perform just a little better on that kind of a task where you're moving through a lot of material because of the fact it's a nice thin blade. It's going to move through material very easily. The Southard, on the other hand, is going to be a little tougher. You can see that it carries much more steel out here to the tip, and it's much thicker blade stock to start off with. Okay, the steel on these, you're at a point on these two blades, the steels are both very high end. Okay, with the Southard, you're getting CTX 204P, which is essentially Carpenter's version of M390. Very, very good steel, super tough. It's going to hold an edge like crazy. Yes, it will be a little tougher to sharpen. If you're used to sharpening, S30V or whatever, you're going to be fine. Just take your time with it, and it will take the edge that you want it to take. Now, this bento box shop Domino has the same steel, CTX 204P. However, the standard Domino in carbon fiber is going to be CTX XHP, which is, of course, now well known to be the steel that all cold steels are going to be in. I'm going to say that Spyderco takes their CTX XHP to a harder Rockwell hardness than cold steel does. That's just my take on it from sharpening and using them. However, again, a very, very good steel. As I've said before on video, I love D2 steel, and CTS XHP is called a stainless version of D2. And D2 is a phenomenal blade steel. Okay, so we've got very good blade steel on both of these. Probably the 204P is slightly better. Okay, is it going to be discernibly better? If you're a typical knife user, are you going to be like, yeah, wow, I can just tell a huge difference between these two blades? No, you're not. In fact, if someone secretly changed the lettering on you, you would probably never figure it out without actually performing some tests on that metal. Okay, so both very, very good steels. The primary differences are going to be the blade length here and the slicing performance. Okay, also the Domino is going to penetrate better. You can see it's a very acute point. It's going to penetrate just a little better. This is not quite as sharp of a point or as aggressive of one. But neither one of these, I would suggest, are especially designed for penetrating tasks, especially defensive ones. The point, of course, is finer on this, and that's both a plus and a minus, okay? The finer point means, let's say you're opening a package. Let's say you're, trying to cut a little piece of wood out of, you're whittling your name in a tree or something. That point is going to be a little more versatile. It's going to perform a little better for you than this one is. However, while it is going to do that fine detailed work slightly better, it's also going to break off more easily. Okay, so which blade do I prefer? I've got to give the blade to the Southard both for its size. I also love hollow grinds. It's got this beautiful stonewash finish. Of course, that's another important difference. Here you've got a pretty typical Spyderco satin finish. Here you do have a very nice stonewash, okay, which is a little bit more premium, and one of the things that you're going to see for that difference in price point, okay? So on blade, I'm going to give it to the Southard primarily because of that extra length, although I need to point out that in terms of versatility, the Domino is probably going to do just a little bit better. Let's move on to lockup and deployment. Both of these, I'm going to move out just a little for this. There we go. Both of these blades are titanium frame locks. The primary difference is going to be the fact that this one has a stainless steel insert, this one does not. Both of them do have an over travel stop, it's just achieved differently. Okay, this over travel stop is achieved by having that lock bar insert extend back so that it catches the other part of the frame. This over travel stop, of course, is achieved by this piece of G10. They both do the same thing, they just do it differently. I will say this, the stainless steel lock bar insert is a really, really nice feature because of the fact that it is going to increase the longevity on that blade, which is a real win, okay? Otherwise, functionally, they're very, very similar. In terms of flipping, the Domino is slightly smoother, the Southard is slightly faster, okay? That's primarily because of a difference in detent. And one of the things I'm going to say is this. People have commented, both of these are Taichung Taiwan Spydercos, and the tolerances are extremely high on the Taichung Taiwan Spydercos. Now, there is, in my experience, and I've handled a couple of different Dominos, a little more variation in the performance on the Dominos. I've handled a few Southards and have found every one to be exactly the same. Now that's pretty cool, okay? I've got to give some credit for that. When you can reach that level of fit and finish, that degree of accuracy where you can, you know, pick up two different blades and they feel and perform and look exactly the same, that's exceptional, okay? Both of these are ball bearing pivot, and you know, you've got to, I really don't know how to feel about the ball bearing pivot system. I have a lot of knives that have it, and I do feel like it's a legitimate suggestion to say, what if a bunch of gunk and crap gets in there? Okay, I think that's, I know people have said that, and I think that's legitimate. Very, very fast deploying knives, both of them. The Domino doesn't really care how you flip it out, okay? Just do whatever you want, touch the flipper and it flies out. The Southard, it does need a light switch motion, okay? If you try to do more of a push button, you don't get as good a performance, okay? So if you slide down the handle like this, it flips out very well every time. It's actually very fast, the detent is very good, but it's just not quite as versatile as the Domino, okay? So both of these, by the way, are going to be tie frame locks, very strong. On lockup and deployment, I'm going to give a slight edge to the Domino. Number one, for the fact that it's super easy to flip, it's consistent to flip. Anyone, even if they don't know anything about knives, is going to get it to work out pretty well for them. The Southard, you do need a little bit of thought process. You do need to remember, okay, I've got to light switch this rather than push button it. Whoops. There you go. And so the other thing is, of course, no stainless steel lock bar insert on this. I kind of wish there was one. So I'm going to give the edge to the Domino in terms of lockup and deployment. Both are very fast. Both are really cool flippers. Both flip well and are fun to flip. The other thing is the Domino can do everything. You can spider flick it. You can open it with the thumb hole. You can even flick it open with the thumb hole. Doesn't matter what you do, the Domino is coming open for you. Okay, the Southard is a flipper and a flipper only. The hole is there, but it is extremely difficult to deploy with the thumb hole. There's really no reason to even try. Okay, it's primarily a dedicated flipper. So for all those reasons, I think lockup and deployment, the Domino is superior. Okay guys, so that pretty well covers lockup and deployment. As I've said, both are good. The Domino is a little more versatile, possibly a little easier than the Southard, although as I've said also, both are very good flippers. The Domino is also, it flicks open very, very easily. In that sense, it is a little, you have a little more variation or a few more options in terms of how to open the Domino. All right, so let's move on to the handle. Okay, again, these handles are the biggest, probably the biggest single difference in these two knives is going to be the handle. Now, the Domino does allow you to choke up. You know, there's jimping here on the back of the blade. It's not very, very rough jimping. We could say the same thing about the Southard. It's not very, you know, grippy jimping. But there is this finger choil here where there's no finger choil here. And let's see. You could actually put a choil, even if you did it after the fact, you could put a choil on the Southard and still have more blade length than the Domino. However, I don't really think it's necessary because of this little cutout. Your thumb fits really nicely here and you can do some fine detailed cutting right here at the base of the blade and essentially achieve the same thing that you're doing if you take the Domino in this grip. Okay, so both are very comfortable. Both, you know, retain reasonably well in hand. I will say the carbon fiber Domino is smoother, of course. And in case you've heard this, I will repeat the fact that this Brown G10 on the non-blacked out Southard is much more aggressive than the black. Okay, so the Bento Box Shop G10 is similar to, you know, Spyderco, similar to like a military or paramilitary 2 that you're pretty used to. Okay, so let's talk about these handles. Both are very good. Both are comfortable. No hot spots in any way. The Southard has a little more real estate. I can take a fuller grip on the Southard than I can on the Domino. Okay, so that kind of covers the handle. I'm going to give the win on that to the Southard in terms of the amount of real estate I have and how firmly I can grip it and how well it retains in hand. The Domino is comfortable and it is functional, although it's a little smaller because you're pushed back here. Now you can choke up and that's really a nice option. Both of them are, I mean, I hate to say this, but it's a tough call to make on the handle. Both have positives and negatives. I love the fact that you can choke up on the Domino. You certainly can't do that on the Southard. There is, on the other hand, more real estate on the Southard, so that if I take a full hammer grip like that, there's a bit of handle sticking out. Not so on the Domino. Okay, so my last finger just barely has a little tip of handle to get a hold of there. All right. So how do the handles compare? Very different. They achieve similar results. And finally, the pocket clip. The Domino is, of course, 4-way repositionable, and it's a typical Spyderco clip. The Southard is single position, right side, tip up carry. Many people have complained about this clip, that it should be titanium to match the handle. I kind of agree with that criticism. Not the end of the world, however. There is, of course, more variation on the Domino. So again, you have pluses and minuses. This is a little more custom. It's a little more interesting. This is a standard Spyderco clip. By the way, I do have a Casey Lynch clip on my other Domino, and it's very, very nice. So just kind of FYI, that's a really nice option for the Domino if you don't like the standard Spyderco clip, or if you want it to be a deeper carry. In terms of how deep they carry in pocket, the Southard does carry deeper, but it's not what I would call a deep carry knife. Okay, not what I call a deep carry clip. All right, so there you go. That's the comparison between these two blades in their various specific elements. Both are very good. Both are exceptional choices. And this is one of those things where, if I say, hey, what are you carrying today? And you pull out a Southard, I'm going to be like, whoa, sweet blade. If you pull out a Domino, I'm also going to be, whoa, nice blade. Let me check it out type of thing. So great blades both. There are some differences. There's probably, this one's a little, maybe a little higher class, a little more pride of ownership. Let me back out so I can talk to you a little more normally now. There we go. I'm going to say, the Southard is probably a little more noticeable, a little more pride of ownership. Now, on the other hand, you know, the Domino in that really nice carbon fiber, especially the blue twill carbon fiber that I have. You know, I think it looks awesome, and people are going to be like, wow, that's a really nice looking blade. The Southard, you know, people who don't know knives are probably not going to realize just how cool it is, okay? But if you know knives and you like knives, I can see the Southard being a little more desirable, especially because, you know, maybe you've got a Mannix already. You know, maybe you've got some blades that are Eric Lesser designed, and so you don't need another one. The Southard is going to be, you know, one of those few blades where you can get your hands on a Brad Southard knife reasonably readily and for an okay cost, you know, about 250 bucks. Or as I said, on the secondary market, about 200 bucks. Which one is better overall? I can't really tell you. You know, I would say technically, from an objective standpoint, the Southard does check a few more boxes for me. Now, having said that, something about the Domino just draws me to it. I just love this knife. I don't know why. For me, my preference is to carry the Domino over the Southard, even though I like both. I can't tell you exactly why that is. It may be totally different for you. And in fact, from a non-biased standpoint, I think the Southard is a slightly better knife, even though my preference leans toward the Domino. Okay, both of these are great. I think you're going to enjoy either one. You're definitely not going to be disappointed. These Tai-Chung Spydercos are amazing. The fit and finish is phenomenal, okay? Just really, really well done. Of course, one of the things I want to point out about both of these that I really appreciate about Spyderco in general is that both of these sides of the frame are full titanium, okay? If I had, do I have a, I could have sworn I had a zero tolerance with me, but you guys know how on the zero tolerance knives, the G10 side is usually stainless steel. Really nice touch to have full tie on both sides of the handle, and so both of these knives do that. I've got to say, great blades, really cool titanium frame locks. Now, Spyderco does have a few more titanium frame locks now that are kind of coming out, but these were kind of the first major moves in that direction. I guess the Thai military is pretty old. Great blades. I don't think either one is going to be disappointing. As you look through those criteria that I compared, there may be one that stands out to you. I think both of these are awesome. And I hate to say this, but in this video, even though a lot of times I kind of declare a winner, I've got to call this a very close tie. For my personal use, I find myself carrying the Domino more, but as I discuss it here on video, I can't really call it for one of these being superior to the other. You heard all the pluses and minuses, and so you guys know there are things that the Domino does better, and there are things that the Southard does better. But as it all, at the end, they all kind of come out in the wash, okay? So there you go. That's my take on these two blades. I hope you enjoyed the video. I think it's a really cool comparison, and I'm surprised, as I said, that these have not been compared more. But man, these are both very, very good knives from Spyderco, and I really enjoy having both of them. We'll talk to you later.